Good evening, everyone. If I may have your attention, please. My name is Michelle Arnold, and I am the faculty chair for the College of Science for the 2013-2014 school year. This is the first time that an equestrian faculty member has been selected for this position, so I'm really honored to represent both the English Farm and the Western Farm. So we have 4 weeks for the consecutively starting tonight and continuing on till April 1st, and we'll have a different speaker for each of those weeks. This week's focus is on alumni. So these 4 ladies are all alumni of our English Equestrian program that have gone on to become very successful in the horse industry, but have utilized their degrees in various capacities. So not all of them are the traditional trainers or riders, some of them are, but that's what they're here to talk about tonight, is the flexibility that we have built into the major. And they're going to talk about their path to how they got to where they are today. Next week's speaker will be Dr. Stephen Schumacher, and he is the head vet for the United States Equestrian Federation, which is the national governing body for all of horse sport within the United States. So we're very excited to have him coming. He will be speaking on drugs and medications and all the rules and regulations that go with that. He is also on staff at the Ohio State Veterinary College. So any of you students who are pre-vets, he is somebody who already is a veterinarian practicing teaching. You might encounter him if you get accepted to Ohio State. Those of you who are in the horse show community or wanting to go into the horse show community, you might see him at a competition. I first met him when I had flown out to Las Vegas for the World Cup. Had asked him way back then, which was several years ago, if he would come speak at the University of Findlay. So it was really exciting when this year I was able to ask him if he would truly come and be with us. So he'll be here next week. Then the third week I will be speaking on all of my international travels, specifically to Europe, when the opportunities I've had to both work in Europe and study as well as give presentations, and then the resulting internships that have arrived and derived because of that, as well as horses that have become a part of our program through those efforts. And then we'll finish up on April 1st with our final lecture in the series, and that will be the Western equestrian students who went this past year to Europe and gave clinics. And that was a team effort between the University of Findlay, led by Art O'Brien, who's an instructor at the Western Farm, and the American Quarter Horse Association. They have also been awarded the same opportunity for this upcoming summer. So, and then there were several years ago where they had gone for the very first time. So those students are the students who will be speaking on the experiences from just this past summer in 2013. And they will be able to answer any of your questions as well. So we hope you join us for all 4 of the upcoming series and have a great time understanding more about the educational opportunities here at Findlay. Next, I want to talk about the new eventing program. There are 2 different upcoming opportunities. There is a Carol Kozlowski clinic that's coming up in just a couple weeks. And Carol will be coming. Some of you don't know her name, might know her pony's name. She became very famous with a pony named Erin Go Bra, who was a high-level eventer and nationally and even internationally known. So Carol is coming March 20th or 22nd and 23rd, and so that is coming up. But there still are a few slots available. If you or someone you know would be interested in participating, you'll need to talk to Sue King, who is our new eventing instructor, or you can talk to myself tonight. Secondly, also in the eventing world, we have a summer camp for eventing. For the first time ever, not only is Findlay offering, starting with this freshman class, an eventing major, but they are also going to be offering a summer camp. So if you know of some young riders in your home area or who are eventers and they'd like to come to a summer camp, have them sign up and we can get them the information. So that's coming up this summer. There'll be 2 sessions offered. And so we were really excited about new opportunities and developments in our equestrian program. So without further delay, I would like to introduce our 4 speakers. They're going to speak individually, each presenting for about 20 minutes, and then we'll have a question and answer period at the end of our time. And so you can think of some questions that you might have for them, and we'll finish up with that. So our first to present tonight is Lori Kramer, immediately to my left. She is a graduate of the equestrian program from 1997. A little history, the program was started and founded in 1992. Lori was in the Western program originally, before there was an English program, and she actually came over from the Western program to the English program and got us started. So that's a neat history about where we have come from. From there, she graduated with a 4-year degree in English Equestrian Studies and Business. And she minored, I have to make sure I have it, actually I don't know, but she also has a master's in business, so an MBA from the University of Findlay as well. She was the director of the English Equestrian program from 2000 to 2004. During her 4-year tenure, the IHSA team won the national championships in the IHSA for the English Equestrian, and they were second 2 times and 5th 1 time. So in her 4-year career here as the director, she accomplished a lot with the equestrian team. She also founded the dressage team. So sitting on the other end is Kogi Matten and Long. Matten is her maiden name, Long is her married name. And Kogi is one of the reasons why Lori founded the dressage program. Kogi really wanted to specialize in the area of dressage, and so there were enough other students that were in the program that Lori found a way to get the dressage program started, and so thanks to Kogi and Lori, we have dressage majors. So Kogi was one of the first dressage majors to come through. Going back to Lori, she also with the IDA, then the IDA team started. And so Lori brought on board our first dressage instructor, and that was a French lady by the name of Mary Valentine Gygax-Humer. So moving on to Kogi, we'll jump to Kogi. She is now the vice president of the Equine Affair. They're based out of the Columbus, Ohio area. She has hired Findlay students, as well as Lori. Lori has hired Findlay students. I forgot to tell where she is now, so I'll jump back to Lori. She's now doesn't really matter. No, it's easy. She's a Findlay alum. Lori is currently the director of the Miami University of Ohio equestrian program, and she has her teams there. She was the team coach for both the IHSA team as well as their IDA team. And now she's turned over the reins to 2 Findlay grads. So she hired out of her alma mater to have her team coaches as well as their instructors in their program. She is going to talk about how they're currently developing that program and some of the buildings that they are constructing at this time. And while she's been at Ohio, in between Findlay and Miami, she did a brief stint at Ohio State University and coached their IHSA team as well. So we're grateful to have Lori come and speak with us. Kogi, going back to Kogi, she is with the Equine Affair and has been there since she graduated and has worked her way up to vice presidency. She has hired Findlay students along the way and mentored them along. And she is in charge of bringing on the clinicians that they have and I'm forgetting the name of the evening extravaganza, Fantasia, thank you, and the Fantasia, which is a really neat evening experience of many horse breeds and things. And so she has really come up through the ranks here. She was not only a major in equestrian studies and marketing, but she also minored in operations and logistics management, which has come in handy as she organizes such a huge organization such as Equine Affair, where they have not only the Columbus Equine Affair, but the Massachusetts Equine Affair. And from time to time, they've had one in California and even one in Kentucky. So it's a huge organization. Nerese Galino is sitting next to Lori, and she is from the very first full 4-year English equestrian graduating class. So that class was in 1996. She graduated with an equestrian science degree and an associate's in business administration. In 1997, she stayed on and was an intern with the admissions office here at the university. And she was the team captain of the IHSA team for 2 years. She has gone on to own her own business. She has been a barn manager. She is a trainer out in the industry with riders and horses that are competitive throughout the Midwest. And she has now, one of her riders is now a Findlay, in the Findlay Equestrian program. So Bethany Ockwell, our sophomore, she has come up through Neresa's ranks. So, and now is on our equestrian team and went to Ocala. So we're very excited. Good job. And finally, we have Laura Baldine Reist. Laura is a 2007 graduate with equestrian studies and business. She was on the team for 4 years, and her team was all 4 years in the national champions. They were 5th twice and 2nd twice. So they were very successful when she was on the team. I have a good memory. And she was also, in 2012, voted Horse Person of the Year for the Northern Illinois Hunter Jumper Association. So at the end of the year, she was the top trainer. So we're very pleased to see her be so successful. So without further ado, I'm going to let Lori come up and take it away.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you. How many of you are in-state students or from Ohio? Okay, out of state? Okay, quite a few. How many are double majors? Great, great. So I can tell you a little history about sort of where I came from. I look out and I see Robin, and I just remember my journey here from New Jersey to become a student. Showed up at the Western Farm. My background was more in hunt seat, but had a great first year at the Western Farm as they were beginning the hunt seat farm. So was really able to see the transformation as a second farm came together. And in our very first farm, and I know Nerese will allude to this, she can go through some of the particulars of what the first farm looked like, but it was very different than the farm that you have today. So I won't take that piece, but I'm also probably the oldest one standing up here in case, so I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with each of these individuals, either by being one of their classmates or have coached both Laura and Kogi. So it's funny, I picture myself sitting out there as you and remembering, wondered when it would be my turn. I was telling Michelle earlier, my first day here as a student, I can remember staying on as a graduate assistant and saying, someday I want to be the director and I want to be able to do those things. And I came back here as the director, as Michelle said, and I remember in the interview process being said, do you remember when you were a student and you said you would come back and be the director? So I encourage you, if you have aspirations and dreams like that, that you stick with it. So for me, it was, again, traveled all the way from New Jersey, was very different. I can remember some of my very first unrelated horse experiences, just learning the lingo. They didn't have, a hard buttered roll, and the bagels don't taste the same, and pizza's not the same in this part of the world, and I see, right? And so you have to get over that homesickness. It's definitely different, so wherever you've come from, even if you are from Ohio, being out of place and starting in a new vicinity. But the farm was what really held it together for me. It was where my family was, it was where my friends were, and you spend quite a bit of time together. So developing that network, spending time in my classes on campus, I developed in 4 years to decide what I wanted to become. I remember I had to go for my business degree as well to sort of appease my dad, because I can remember when I signed up, his big thing was, I'm not sending you for 4 years of horse school. So the business degree kind of went hand in hand, and I can remember getting to, are there any seniors out here? Yeah, I remember getting to now, and it was time to send off my resume, and I had 2 piles. This is a good tip. One pile of resumes was going out to food brokers, because my dad was in the food industry, and so I had a whole resume tailored to my business degree. And then the other pile, my hopeful pile, was for horses. And I kept them very separate. I can remember checking the envelopes twice to make sure I didn't mix them up, because someone at Hostess Cupcakes really didn't want my horse one, and I know the horse people really didn't want the food one. So I sent them off, and it was sort of a race to see what would happen. In the meantime, I was so in love with Findlay, I wrote to the powers that be and said, what if I stayed? Do you have a graduate program? Can I stay? Can I work in admissions? Can I teach? What can I do? And basically, they worked with me to design a program to stay on. And that was probably was sort of a pivotal moment for me and where I would go forward. I also had a stay over in Florida, went, and I realized that I really wanted to teach. I came home from that moment and didn't know I was going to be a teacher at all. I never thought I would have the patience to actually teach. Came home with all of my information. As a senior, we had the opportunity to teach. And I really fell in love with teaching and being able to share the information. And that's where my coaching began. Stayed over, became a graduate assistant at Findlay, stayed for 2 years, and then it was time to move on and kind of get out there. Moved back east and worked at the Oxridge Hunt Club. I had a great experience there over the course of a year and a half, and then found the calling to come back to Findlay. My husband's family is from here. Came back to Findlay. We didn't have a job at that point with the horses, sort of followed my husband back here, and a position opened up at the university, and I applied. And I found myself back at the place I loved, working, and I was the director. And I was a young director. I was, I think, 25, so I was fairly young. Just starting out, was really grateful for the opportunity to give it a try. Sort of happened by it, just worked hard, long hours, had great people to work with, and kept working. Actually, during that time, Michelle and I got to know each other. Michelle came on at the university as well, and before we know it, there were national titles and reserve titles and great horses to work with. And you know, when you're not always focused per se on an end goal or a prize, but just the overall quality, it's amazing the steps that you take and what you can achieve. So in a 4-year stay, I was successful here, and attribute most of my success as I've moved forward to the things I learned here at the university and being given the opportunity not only as a student, but then to come back and be able to practice some of those things as an employee. Went over to Ohio State, had a great experience there, but something to keep in mind, I was subcontracted through the subcontractor. So if you were to go to Ohio State and say, like, do you know Lori Kramer? They didn't know who Lori Kramer was. And the problem with that would be health benefits and all of the things you need to survive in life. So had a great stay, and enjoyed teaching there, had a wonderful position, but really needed to feel like I was under the umbrella of an institution. And Miami University had sent out a headhunter recruiting, and they invited me to come and interview. And that's where I've been now for 9 years. Probably the most interesting experience for me, and what I'll take you through and what's up on the screen, is I have the opportunity there. They don't perceive me as, they didn't hire me for my coaching ability. Although they utilize my coaching ability, they've hired me as what they call a director. So my main role is overseeing the management of the facilities, the program, and the staff. So I oversee basically probably a $500,000 budget and have to balance the revenues to expenses and have to work with all of our vendors, and it's a state institution, so it's for us, we have to do a bid process for every hay vendor, service provider, everything we do. So my business degree has been huge. So that business degree that I wasn't really sure why I was taking it, went on for my master's, has been critical in my role right now. And they've actually moved me on campus, and I was sharing with the ladies sitting up here. It's kind of funny, I've kind of branched off into other areas, and I'm working on some different projects. The university is part of a lean initiative, which is what Toyota Motor Company's gone through, and they're working through each individual area. You identify an area where you feel like you could be more efficient or do things differently, and there's an entire model, a business model you have to go through. So I'm currently leading some teams about dining halls and things completely unrelated to horses, but it's amazing what you learn in horses and how to get your day done with so many horses to ride, so many stalls to clean, how you can apply that in other principles. So I strongly encourage your second degrees. Is the clicker? So I'm going to take you through, just push this here. I don't want to do the wrong thing. Push the yellow button. No. Here, right here. Right here. Got it. Okay, I'm just going to stand up here. Can you all hear me? Pretty much, I'm pretty pretty loud voice. Being from New Jersey and also teaching, I'm pretty sure they can hear me next door. Okay, so this is Miami University. This is where I work. In the last 2 years, we've undergone quite a bit of changes. The university agreed after a study to decide whether the Equestrian Center would exist or not, because it is not a part, it's not a degree at the university, it's merely a club sport, and there's also a physical education component where you can learn to ride. So we see 200 Learn to Ride students over the course of the week, and we also have 100 students on our teams, that's English, Western, Dressage combined. So we see 300 students a week, we have about 55 horses, and we were down in a valley. And the story goes that when I came to interview, and this is again a very important thing for you to remember, they handed me the plans and they said, we're gonna build this, you come and we're gonna build it over here, up out of the floodplain. And I said, that looks great. And I showed up and the president and his wife had moved on, and there was a new president came in, a new administration, and we didn't move. We stayed there. And basically, we say it's below sea level, but we sat in a basin. So anytime it rained, we flooded. We flooded, and I have quite a few pictures of that for you. And so it became really important for the horses' well-being that we were able to move that facility forward. And it's been a slow process, but in the last couple of years, I've been a part of the building plan. Okay, so this is the John Brown stable. The initial fundraising campaign started back in 1811. This is what it looked like in the 1970s. This was in 1994. They brought one of their horses down into the field. Okay, now you can understand the flooding problems. Okay, so now they told me this was the 100-year flood. Keep track of the dates. This would be in 2008, and then the people I work with thought it was funny. They went down and got a rowboat, and they put it in the ring. Did not think it was funny. I stayed. And then in 2009, you can see we plowed the snow so we could ride. And then that was it, and I'm really not doing that on purpose. In 2012, so this is most recently, that's how much water we would take on. We only have an outdoor. So you can imagine sort of the trials that we faced. So this is the way the facility looked. You can see we had shed rows. We're not in the part of the country for shed rows. We all know how the winter has been. So the horses were either snowed in or snowed out. So if we left them out in the pasture, they were snowed out of their stalls. And if we put them in their stalls, we had to plow past to get to them. These are the different elements of what we have. That's okay. And this is phase one. So the first part of what we had to do is we had to put a proposal together, and we used the lean initiative. So basically I went through and said if there are 58 horses in the barn, and we have to break all of their water buckets to water them, and we have to take a wheelbarrow, and we have to go around every nook and cranny and drag a hose all the way around. This is how long this process takes. And the university was able to look at the processes and see that it wasn't very lean. We weren't saving time at all or money. And so we designed a new facility that brought it up out of the floodplain and put all of the stalls under one roof. And so these are the design plans that we worked with. This is the rendering of the new outdoor. So 60,000 cubic yards of dirt arrived. That's quite a bit. We went up 8 feet. So, and I attribute this as one of the things Nerys will tell you about is when we started, we only had the small ring and that small barn of stalls. Having watched the building project at the University of Finley was very handy with this, because this is not something that I had experience with before, but I gained some here, and then being able to move this was pretty amazing. This happened right alongside our riding, so we're riding here, and basically it was like getting buried alive. Sorry guys, I'm trying. So there's the new platform. You can see there's the only piece of the barn we left standing, 18 stalls. And then they laid the new arena with under drains, irrigation, limestone, and sand. Merry Christmas. This was actually, I said all I wanted for Christmas was a barn. It was a very wet year. This was 2 years back now, so they were having a hard time. This was in the new year, the barn had been built. This is the last time we'd see the snow in the stalls. We have 58 stalls now, all under one roof, 4 wash stalls, equipment rooms, and that's the new view. And it does stay that dry, so we are lucky. Phase 2. So as we move forward, conveniently we built the stall barn and the outdoor ring with this giant empty space. So part of this in my next role at the Miami University is a fundraiser. We're going to be raising funds for the indoor arena. So if you were to come and I were to give you a tour, you'd say, what goes here? Because you're standing at the barn and the ring is all the way there. And my answer is your name on the indoor arena, because that's what's going to fit right here. So conveniently, the indoor ring fits right onto the stall barn, leads right to the outdoor ring. We wouldn't have to move fence lines or anything. So part of designing the process was making it available for phase 2. Miami put forth the funds for phase 1, but now we're going to fundraise for phase 2. This is what it would look like from the lobby. This is what it would look like from the bleachers. Here's the design plan. So again, going through putting the footprint together, deciding all of the usable spaces. I encourage you as you go through your days to keep all of your notes. I still have my notebooks from Robin's classes. I still have all of my notebooks from when we traveled, courses from horse shows I went to while I was at Findlay. Any of the information you have, it's still valuable, and it doesn't really go out of date. You would be really surprised at what you'll call upon or what you'll go back and remember. And then happy tea. So that was my latest project at Miami University. I think for me, I'm grateful for everything I learned here and was able to take with me through this process. I think it's a unique opportunity. The other things I've been able to do after leaving the University of Findlay, while I was here, I joined the IHSA and I had the opportunity to be the regional president. So I know many of you are aware that's the person who keeps gives everything to the region and keeps the points. From that role, I was put on the board of the IHSA and I'm now a zone chair. And through that role, began on the USHJA and the marketing committee and then was seated on the USHJA board. And a year and a half ago, the USHJA board appointed me to the USEF board of directors. Within 6 months of serving on the USEF board of directors, they've gone through a restructuring, which has again been an educational opportunity, and now I sit on the National Breeds and Disciplines Council, and that's where all of the rules are reviewed and then sent to the executive board for voting. So it's been a wonderful opportunity. I enjoy the governance piece. I think I've really enjoyed my time in coaching, and now my time is spent mainly on trying to move our building project forward, balancing the budgets, bringing in the horses, and I get down to the arena as often as I can to see the students and still enjoy coaching. So I look forward to learning more about all of you, and I hope if you have any questions, we get to talk at the end. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Lori. And now I'd like to introduce Nerys Galino and have her come up. Again, remember, she is from the very first 4 years of the English Equestrian program. So,
Thank you very much, Michelle. A little shorter. Well, thank you all again for welcoming all of us, me especially, because this university meant a lot to me. And I'll go through kind of where I got started. Again, my name is Nerys, Maurice, Mary, whatever you want to call me, Sir, Sally, it's a big joke. Boss is usually the name I hear the most from all of my kids and anyone that I work with. I am a head trainer, a barn manager, and I just got a partnership in the facility that was purchased for me to run recently as a bonus. So that was a neat opportunity for me now to take on going forward. As they said, I was a graduate of the University of Findlay. Little bit of a backstory. I was born in California. I was raised in Missouri on a farm with about 5 to 15 horses at any time. Pigs, cows, goats, chickens, fishing, hunting, we did it all. Garden that was over an acre large, and the joke that we have in my family is when I was 5 years old, I picked up a vacuum and I decided I was going to clean the house. So I did a lot of that self-starting and taking initiative at a very, very early age. I should have picked up on what I was probably going to be doing as I got older, but I kept rejecting and rejecting being a leader and going forward. Went to high school, I played multiple sports, so I'm not just an equestrian. Basketball, tennis, volleyball, track, so I was the jock of the school. I was president of my my class. So again, being in front of a group, it scares the heck out of me, but for some reason I keep choosing to be a leader, so I'm not still quite sure what's wrong up here. But anyway, so the University of Findlay was a choice of many schools. I didn't come upon it because of its English program or its accolades. My mom is a professor at a college where I lived, and I could go to several schools for free, so I got to come here for free. And the only reason we chose Findlay was we came to tour the not quite 40 stalls at the English program, and again, the little arena with an auditorium where you guys now have the equine services vet facility. And my mom said, if the place has money, you need to come here because they're going to spend it on you. So Findlay was my choice. That's pretty much the only reason that I came here, but thankfully for her wisdom, I stayed, and it was the best thing that I had ever done. So we started off the East Campus, and there were about 10 of us and a few transfers, awkwardly trying to figure out what the program was doing, equestrian team, all the rules and the highlights, and I was lucky enough to meet Lori and become good friends with her. We were kind of like two peas in a pod, two people trying to make things happen and be the best we could be and work for our trainer. The equestrian team was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for me again to learn to guide because I became the captain. I was able to run horse shows. I was able to organize horses, make programs, work with the different schools that were coming in, be there at 5 o'clock in the morning, wait till the trash was taken out at the end of the day, thank everybody, lunches, dinners, worked on the admissions council in campus, and loved doing that. There's actually a funny story about me in my senior year as an admissions assistant. They did an audit of the university, and the financial auditor said, who's this Nerese Galino girl, and why is she working so much? So again, my work ethic was a little bit intimidating to most, but I just figured everybody worked that hard. So in going through the university, that was great for me. They always gave me opportunities, and no one really stifled me. They just kept letting me grow and grow and grow. But the last thing I remember saying is, well, you're going to graduate from here, what are you going to do? Well, I don't know, but I'm not going to be a trainer because I don't want to work that hard. So that was my big memory of graduating and running horse shows is, God, I'm doing this to get through, but I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want to work that hard. So leading into that, I got 2 job offers after graduating. One was in State College, Pennsylvania, and it was with a gentleman, and I was going to work with their equestrian team and coach. I was also going to have an opportunity to take over his 20-horse barn and live on the farm, and he was getting married, and he wanted to step away, and cold winters in the middle of nowhere, and I'm looking at all the mountains going, yeah, this is pretty, but there's nothing going on. But it was a great opportunity. And then all of a sudden I got a phone call from a member of the Bloomfield Open Hunt Club in Metro Detroit area. And so assistant manager, I don't get to ride much, I don't get to teach, but I'm not in charge. So you know what, do I want to go in the middle of nowhere and I'm going to be the boss in 5 years, or do I want to go to the Metro Detroit area, lots of horses, lots of things going on, but I'm not in charge. There's a president, I get to be the vice president, that's for me, I'm picking that job. 40, 50 hours a week, I can go home. Not so much. I was working, and it was a great, great opportunity for about 9 months, but it was probably 80 to 90 hours a week. I had a beeper on call all the time. They had 75 horses at the time. I was in charge. My boss had 5 weeks of paid vacation, so I had to work all of her days. So again, the job I thought I wasn't going to get of working all the time was the job I ended up with. So I actually decided that horses weren't for me, and I would have to do something else with my degree. I went into business as well, and I did customer service at a non-horse related business, but I got to do accounts receivable, accounts payable. I got to work with new recruiting, and I had no idea that all of that information was going to be helpful to me going forward as I stepped back into the horse industry, which I did after about 1.5 years. I decided that I wanted to ride again, and maybe if I just offered to ride for free, someone would let me ride their horses. I just want to get back on a horse again, and if I could ride their horses, it'd be a great opportunity, and just go ride and leave. I have no commitment whatsoever, so I sent out a bunch of resumes, and I was told that there was this one place that I did not want to go to. I wasn't going to like it. It was that hole in the wall you've all heard of as trainers, as young professionals, as students. There's that one barn no one goes to because they don't take care of their horses or this, that. So that was the farm, of course, that called me, and they said, hey, we've got your resume, someone passed it along, why don't you just come out and ride? I just want to ride for fun, I don't want to get paid, I miss horses, I can't afford one, I work in an office, just come on out and ride. So I rode for the trainer at the time and her father, and instantly, please come 2 or 3 days a week. So I started coming a couple of days a week. I would ride their sale horses, and it was a pleasure for me just to be back in it. And I'd go out one day on the weekend and, oh, would you mind just teaching this person? I got this little girl, she just needs a little walk trot lesson. Or, hey, that instructor didn't show up, why don't you just jump that person around really quick? Okay, no problem. I don't really teach very much anymore, from being in the backyard of my house. And so I thought, well, I'll get you a few lessons. And then I got a job offer from that gentleman, and it was one of those life-changing job offers. I've got an instructor who's leaving, and she's got a small business. What do you think about taking over her staff and taking over her students? And I thought, well, I can either stay with what I'm doing and just become a domestic buyer, or I can get back into the horse world. And I thought, well, there's an opportunity for me. I'm kind of a faith-based person. I might want to just go ahead and run with it. So I decided that maybe I ought to go ahead and I'll get back into the horse world, see what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And as of that day, I have been a head trainer for my own business with taking kids to horse shows. And that was at that facility. God, writing down your life is a whole bunch of stuff going on. There was an instructor. I started out just teaching lessons weekly. The lessons then became customers. The customers then want to lease horses. The customers want to buy horses. So I got into a lot of buying and selling, but I was in the right place at the right time where the business that I was with did a lot of consignment sales. So the opportunity of riding the horses, I got to test drive all the horses, and I got to see how they lived and worked before I sent them to my clients. And that was a really, really great opportunity because there was a lot of trust built from the owner to myself. Within 2 years, I was running the camp programs, hosting all the horse shows, helping with the care of the horses. So as you guys all are learning, and if you didn't already know, from their farrier visits to their vet visits to them being clipped to what they can do and giving them jobs so that the horses that were coming in, whether they were a lesson horse or whether they were to be sold, all fell on me. So I got to manage all of that as well, and I loved it, and I thrived on it, and helping develop the facility as far as it was not the hole in the wall anymore. We tried to do a lot of fundraising so that we could get fences built and paint jobs and new jumps and all of those wonderful things that if you decide to become a trainer or work with a farm, you'll get to experience. But again, I wouldn't have learned any of that had I not been at Findlay with a family that just cut me loose and said, this lady's crazy, she wants to do all this work, we're just going to let her. So my boss was really, really happy that I was able to do that, and I was a self-starter, so I got to develop his program. And in the interim, about 2005, I met a couple of clients that had 2 daughters, and they said, hey, we like you a lot. What if we bought a barn and you would run it? We think you could do more than this place. And there were some changes going on at the farm I was at. I had a lot of independence, but it also had other instructors that I had to share the ring with and share the horses. And I didn't, you butt heads about things as you all come from different areas. Some people are used to taking care of horses some way. Some people are used to take care of horses others. And I just really wanted and felt like the horses should deserve a special amount of care. So I took them up on their offer, and in 2006, they bought me a 50-horse barn on 30 acres with an indoor ring and an outdoor ring, and said, here you go, we'll own it, you manage it, and tell us what to do. So I felt like if people had enough confidence in me to make that kind of commitment, I might as well run with it and give it a try, and that's what I've been doing since 2006. Again, it's been a wonderful opportunity, kind of the same, don't want to run through the same jobs, but again, managing the horses, taking care of the facility. I then became a recruiter, so I had to bring in my own clients and develop internet software things for the websites and having different families that would help me out. I've been able to travel and step up to do A and AA shows. We were just doing local shows at the time, so we've kind of broadened our client base, and I've been able to have an opportunity to have relationships with people that followed me over to the new farm, Foxwood Hunt Club, and they stayed with me. So I have clients that are now getting married, having babies, and doing those kinds of things, and they all kind of stayed in the family with me. So again, I'm so thankful that I was able to have that opportunity and that I'm still able to grow on that business with Foxwood Hunt Club. But I'm still my own boss. I don't have anyone that looks out around me and is micromanaging me. I'm solely in charge of everything at the farm, from the horses to the clients, and have been able to have an opportunity to have clients, move up and go off to college like Miss Bethany. And it's a nice honor. When she talked about wanting to come to Findlay, I didn't want to push too hard, but I was super excited for her because I thought, what a great opportunity to be able to come to university like this that has transformed so much in 20 years, from the little 40-stall barn to what you guys are so blessed to have today. So I always take every opportunity with any of my clients or their parents and students to talk about Findlay and what it has to offer, what it can give your student. It's not just a horse school where you go pet horses and ride. You get to learn a lot about business, a lot about care. Everything is done correctly from what I see. I know there's no right or wrong, and I always teach that to all my customers. However, I still think there's a better way to do things, and I've had a great opportunity to have Findlay be that place that gave me that better opportunity. And I feel like I'm their brand, I am their stamp, and so I really, really am very, very passionate about doing everything the right way based on the way I was trained and what I learned from this facility. So I have been able to take that on, a couple of different opportunities. I'm on the board of directors for the Michigan Hunter Jumper Association, and I had a couple of the equitation divisions and different things. I've been able to manage horse shows outside of barn shows, which is wonderful. I'd love to be able to get on and be hired on to do that as well. Judging shows for different trainers and having that network has been wonderful. Having the network, as you can see, all the ladies here and any gentlemen, but it's always having that family. So you're never alone if you ever need anything. The Findlay family is so very close with respect and close with its intelligence and its wonderfulness and thoroughness of support that it's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for me to be able to be a part of this family. So I would definitely encourage you to take all of your opportunities here. Whatever you want to take from it is what you want to take from it. But definitely give it your best effort, because they will give you as much as you give them, if not more. And you might be surprised in 20 years, you could be standing here too and talking to a bunch of kids going, okay, you don't want to do this. You work 70 hours a week, find another job, get another career. But we wouldn't be the same people without that opportunity. We wouldn't be the same people without that guidance, without that support and love. And so I'm very, very, very fortunate that I chose this, because it's one of the most fulfilling jobs I think I would have ever had, because I'm universally very, very happy as an adult. And I'm turning 40 this month, and I can't imagine anything being sad about it. I can't wait to see my children. I've got a 3-year-old that walks in and just screams my name and runs at me, and I've got 75-year-old students that love horses and have bought their first horse with me. So it's such a gamut. So if you do choose to be a trainer, give it your whole heart, learn everything you can, and definitely keep the notebooks. Because I remember Lori writing down phrases I would use to teach, and I said, what are you doing? I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. What a great thing to say. I'm going to use that one day. And I looked at her and I went, what? How do you remember what you say? Because I don't remember half of what I say. So she's right. You'd be surprised what you remember and what you use, and it's a lovely, lovely, lovely tool. So again, I laughed with my other sophomore that's here, and I said, what am I going to say to a room of people? But you'd be surprised. You write all your life down, and hopefully someone can take a little bit from what you have. And so I guess that's my message to you. Take as much as you can from here, because it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. No much you roll your eyes about cleaning stalls and getting up and breaking buckets. Learn everything you can and do as much as you can, because it will be very, very useful to you as you become an adult. So again, thank you for giving me your time and all of my wonderful mushiness, but I do love this facility. I'm very happy to be a graduate of Findlay, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Nerese. Next, I'd like to invite Kogi Long. She is the Vice President of the Equine Affair.
Okay, well, before I begin, I would like to thank Michelle for inviting me. Findlay was certainly something both educationally fun, fulfilling, but also basically prepared me for the future. I guess I will use the clicker here. Whoa. Too much. Okay. You weren't kidding.
I promise.
It's sensitive. So I am currently the Vice President and Program Director, as Michelle has mentioned a couple of times. Equine Affair is based in London, Ohio, which is just west of Columbus. It was established in 1993 by our president, Eugenia Snyder, and the first event was produced in Dayton, Ohio, at the Hera Arena. And the first event stayed there for a couple of years, about 3 years, and then moved on to relocate to the Ohio Expo Center. It outgrew those facilities in Dayton and needed the room to expand into greater facilities. So it has since been in Columbus, Ohio. This will be our 21st year there. We also added the Massachusetts event in West Springfield, Massachusetts in 1998. And and our third event was the Fairplex in Pomona, California in 2001. We were there for 10 years and decided to refocus our efforts on just the Ohio and Massachusetts events at this point. So we are a small company. We have about 9 full-time employees. And then at each of our events, we hire contract staff, about 35 contract staff, and we have about 200 volunteers that help us. So it's a small core group. We are basically a family, but we try to bring the whole industry together. So I'll share a little bit of information about Equine Affair, just maybe giving you a glimpse into some of the different parts of the industry, just since we're trying to bring everybody together, and maybe it'll give you some ideas in terms of what's out there, what you can do, whether it's riding training, selling merchandise, educating, anything from a whole variety. So we are national in scope. We have attendees come from all 50 states, from Canada, South America, Europe, and Asia. So it really is a broad range of attendees. And looking at just the industry in general, these are stats from our attendee demographics, but in general, it actually applies to the whole industry. Looking at the gender of the attendees, 15% of our attendees are male and 85% are female. The ages of attendees vary widely. Our biggest group of attendees at this point is 56 and over, but we're also focusing on the youth that are up and coming. And you can see kind of the college age group is about 14.5%. Here's just a pie graph of the percentage of people, or the number of horses owned by each of the different ratios. So we're looking at about 43.5%, which is the biggest portion of our pie, owning 2 to 5 horses. We have a few more, or a few less, at 28% owning 1 horse. 17% do not own horses, but of that, most of them either ride or are involved in the industry in some manner. Okay, maybe we'll get this. And then looking at different regions of the United States, our Ohio attendee base is a little bit more Western skewed. The Eastern United States is a little more English skewed. Kind of makes sense based on most of the trends in general, but just knowing that we can cater to the attendees in terms of developing our educational programs a little more Western in Ohio, a little more English in Massachusetts. Trade shows a little more Western in Ohio, a little more English in Massachusetts. So following the industry is something that we really try to pay attention to and cater to the needs of each of the attendees. There are several different elements to the Equine Affair events. Our educational program is kind of our cornerstone, and really the mission of the company is to educate the equine industry and also bring more new people into the equine industry. So we're known for recruiting the best of the best in terms of Olympians, national coaches, athletes, and also the professionals, the vets, the well-known people in the industry. We are introducing a few new elements to our program this spring. We're creating a Foundation First Clinic series where we will have 2 of our clinicians start a colt on day 1 and then work through the event and present what they've accomplished over the 4 days on Sunday. Now, it's not a race. We're looking more at the the core foundation training principles. We're not looking to see how fast you can do something. So the clinician's job will be to present what the techniques will be for each of the horses. Each will have one. It likely will require them to take a different approach. So it'll be something to show the attendees that they can, what individual horses need in terms of the approach and how to train them from that aspect. Another item that we are introducing this year would be our Equestrian Experience Pavilion. Again, going back to the theory of uniting the industry. So we're providing a glimpse at the different horse sports. We're looking at having the associations, whether they're local, regional, or national, come together and present an introduction to the sport in a clinic arena setting. So it won't necessarily just be a lecture, but we'll have a live demonstration on polo, we'll have a live demonstration on jousting, live demonstration on cutting. We cover some of those topics in the clinic setting in a little more detail and a little more advanced level, but this will just kind of give you a glimpse and also an opportunity to network with the associations or know where to go for additional information. The other big portion of our company is the trade show. At each of the events, we'll have more than 450 vendors, so we have a department that is solely concentrated on selling the exhibit space, and we're fortunate enough to have a very high renewal, so a lot of the vendors secure their spot, and that's where they want to be for years to come. We also, again, keeping tabs on the industry, in our Massachusetts event, we're able to feature a new product showcase where we can take the new products that are on the market. We're constantly scouring, okay, what's new, what's the hot thing? Because that's what the attendees want to see at Equine Affair. What is new, what can they learn from the industry? So we actually have an aisle where we will locate all of those exhibitors with something new just for that 1 year, since it's a debut type thing. But it's kind of an attraction where you can see what you should be aware of or what you should be buying on your Christmas list for that next person. Coupled with our trade show and our educational program, again, going back to education with our breeds, exposure to a lot of different breed associations from throughout the United States and across the world. The associations will have information available along with a live horse so you can really see and compare the different breeds. And also catering to the local trainers, the barn managers, that kind of a thing. We have our horse and farm exhibits where they can, again, bring live horses for display, but also provide an opportunity to network with the industry, to share information about their services, if they're a trainer, if they have a stallion at stud, different things like that. Concentrating on the next generation, our youth pavilion is something that allows the kids a fun place where they can not only learn with sessions that are catered more to the novice horse person, but also to have fun activities. They can make a stick horse, they can compete in a little stick horse rodeo and win prizes, and just making sure that they have fun with the experience and want to come back and learn more. And last, our Celebrity Horse Showcase is an opportunity where we identify between 2 and 4 horses for each event that have celebrity status, something where they have accomplishments that would make them noteworthy and something to be recognized. And one of the popular features of Equine Affair is our Fantasia evening production. This is more of a musical debut or review of the horse, in which we'll have about 12 to 14 different acts, a variety of different disciplines, all choreographed to music. So it's something that the lineup of performers will rotate from year to year, and it's just something where anybody who has an appreciation for horses just kind of can sit back and enjoy the show. And while we're primarily education-based, we thought we could bring a little bit of competition with an educational focus. So our Versatile Horse and Rider competition evolved a few years ago, and it's essentially a test for the horse and rider's relationship to go through an obstacle course against time, but to test their efficiency on how well they can perform. And then opportunities for involvement. Not only are we working with the vendors, the clinicians, but we rely on our volunteers to help produce the event. Like I mentioned before, it's about 200 volunteers, so we're always looking for those that are interested in helping behind the scenes to make a difference in pulling the event together. And our Ride with the Best program, as I know we've received several applications from Findlay students. It's an opportunity that we provide to the public a means of actually riding with or training with some of the top clinicians or coaches or athletes in the country for a very reasonable fee that basically just helps cover some of the clinician's fee and your stabling, but an opportunity to really learn from them, help them with their presentation, but be involved in and have an opportunity to work with someone that you may not always have the opportunity to have access to. Corporate employment, occasionally we do have job openings, so though it is a small group of us, we do occasionally have shifts, and any openings are always posted on our website. And really, Equine Affair has basically become a noted distinction. We are the cornerstone of the horse expo industry. We were the first one out there. We kind of set the standard, and from that, a lot of the other horse expos have based their standards and developed their programs according to what we've established. So in a lot of sense, that's flattery to the what Equine Affair has actually produced and created. Maybe we'll get there. Okay. So again, kind of going back to, I gave you a little bit of information about the company, a little bit about my role in Equine Affair. I develop and produce the educational program, so that involves recruiting the clinicians, identifying what do we need to include in our educational program for each event. I do coordinate both the Ohio and the Massachusetts events, so we're working with about 75 different presenters and clinicians for each event. About almost 200 different sessions for each event, and each of those is non-repetitive. So it's a very varied program. I also oversee the production of our Versatile Horse and Rider competition, and work with our team to develop the Fantasia production for each event. So it allows us to utilize our creativity a little bit, working with the professionals out in the industry in terms of recruiting those that can perform not only as a clinician, but also in an entertaining setting. Production, lots of details in my job. All the I's must be dotted, all the T's must be crossed. So it's something where we're constantly organizing, we're constantly evaluating what have we done at this event, what can we do better, what worked, what didn't work, and so lots of production details behind the scenes. I also assist with maintaining our website. We have a web team that works together to maintain the updates, make sure the information is out there for all of the attendees, the exhibitors, everybody that would potentially want to gather information from Equine Affair. And we also rotate our artwork every year, so we're constantly developing a new theme and working together to make sure it's something visually appealing. And in the office, I oversee our office staff members. Again, it's a small crew, but we work together to make sure everything is completed on time and in the manner that it needs to be completed. So that's kind of where I am now. Taking a step back, I'll kind of lead you how I got there. I grew up in a small town in northern Michigan near Traverse City. It was on the water, so lots of water. When I came to Ohio, not so much water, but it was okay. I still had horses. I grew up, my family had a horse-powered cider mill. We used Norwegian fjords to power it. And so it was kind of a unique opportunity to not only see the business side of things from a small business aspect, but also to have the opportunity to work with the public. I walked the horse around in circles and circles, but at the same time I was talking to attendees, attendees to the cider mill, and sharing information about the horse, and really just learning how to interact with the public and develop communication skills. I had a fjord. I'm dressage. I have a passion for dressage, so I took him as far as I could go before moving on. And basically, after I graduated high school, well, before I graduated high school, about my sophomore year, I started my college search. I knew I wanted to focus on equestrian studies. I did a lot of research. I visited numerous colleges throughout the United States, and really Findlay offered the right blend, and that was before dressage was here. So it was the Hunt C program at that point, but it really just offered the variety, the top-notch, I guess, quality product that I was looking for. And so I came to the University of Findlay, and that was my sophomore colt starting project.
I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember that.
Let's see. And I elected to double major, as Michelle had mentioned, marketing and business, and also a minor in logistics and operations management. So again, it's all kind of come together for me in terms of what I do now, but I did not actually start in program, so I'll get to that in a minute. At the beginning of my college career, I thought I was coming to Findlay, not necessarily as an education major, but I thought I may want to be a professor. After a couple of years and really getting a feel for how colleges really work on the inside out, I just said, I like education, but I think I want to do something more in the business realm. And from here, I've basically evolved. I worked in the marketing department. Upon graduation, I did not have a job secured at that point, other than just a summer job with my family's business. So I was really looking for job postings, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? And I happened to come across an opening posted on the University of Findlay Career Board for the opening at Equine Affair. And I will say I let it sit for a couple weeks, thinking, maybe, maybe not. But I kind of bit the bullet and sent my application in, and next day I received a call and said, will you come interview? So I interviewed, and since then it's kind of just everything has fallen into place. I started as a marketing associate, so I was assisting, organizing some of the print projects, press releases, just making sure marketing-wise I had a senior marketing associate above me, so I was really more in an assistant capacity, but put my mind to it and putting my best effort forward. And after about 3 years as a marketing associate, a program director position became available. It wasn't something that was necessarily publicly advertised, but within the company, I was asked if that might be something of interest. I was really happy with where I was in the marketing department, thinking I can do things in the marketing department, but then the program opportunity really kind of gave me another door to say, okay, what else can I do? I can still involve marketing in that, but it seems like it would be kind of a fun opportunity. And I will say, having been in that position, it is a great way just to combine everything. I have the business side of it, from making sure everything is financially feasible, to actually having the opportunity to work with the best professionals within the industry and making sure that we're bringing the education to the attendees and sharing that with them. And then in 2011, I was promoted to vice president, and we're just kind of working in an assistant capacity to the president in addition to all of my other responsibilities. So looking at my career path, I kind of like to look at it as a horseshoe. Everybody has a horseshoe, and it can vary in different sizes and different shapes, but really you need to make sure that horseshoe is going to withstand your full journey. And if you have a horseshoe, you want it to stay on. So, so I use nails of your virtual character to really just establish what it is that will allow you to pursue that track. My nails of character are time management. I have business and equestrian knowledge. communication skills, strong ethics, and professionalism. So kind of going to time management, looking back at my college experience at Findlay, I was a dual major. I had to balance my full class load. I was involved in both of the equestrian teams, both the IHSA and the IDA, and as my junior and senior year was actually the president of the IDA team. So it was a lot to juggle, but I kind of thrived on being able to manage all of that together. Business knowledge inside the classroom, I was looking at absorbing all the business techniques that I could, not knowing exactly how I might use them, but like the other two have mentioned, I do still have my notebooks. Occasionally you have to reference them, but I think it's just a matter of knowing that you've written things down. It does stick in your brain and something to fall back on later. Outside the classroom, I will skip to the next one. Whoa. Maybe, there we go. Again, working on riding a variety of different horses. IHSA allowed me to continue to test my horsemanship by catch riding and really riding a wide array of different horses. We worked from the regular show season to regionals and to nationals each year. And then we also dabbled in the NCAA. This clicker will work. Looking at communication, really using your college experience to establish networks. You never know if it's the person sitting next to you or the instructor in front of the class. If you're going to stay in touch with them, will you need them in the future? Will you run into them? It's just amazing how small the world really is, both the equestrian world and the world in general. So thankful for the relationships that I was able to establish while I was here, and I certainly have capitalized on that in terms of working with Laura, working with Michelle post-graduation. Ethics, true rewards really do come from hard work. It's something where be prepared if you really want to get somewhere that you're going to have to work for it. Professionalism, build your image as a professional. It's much easier to start with a good impression than it is to try and reverse that. And again, going back to your horseshoe, it's only fully functional if all the nails are securely in place. If you're missing one, obviously your shoe may come off and your journey may not be quite as successful. Maybe? Okay. A little bit of additional advice. Michelle asked each of us to share what we might impart onto some of the students in terms of looking ahead. Be willing to work your way up. When interviewing candidates, we've observed that there tends to be a trend of the next generation wanting to have instant gratification. I think part of that stems from technology. What used to take days now takes seconds. So it's a little bit of a different mindset, but at the same time, a career is something that needs to be fostered. So be willing to start at the bottom and work your way up. And again, kind of going back to the dedication and hard work will pay off. Be well-rounded. As an employer, we're always looking for someone who has the skills in the specific skill set that we're looking for, but can they also offer something more? Those that we tend to hire will excel in one area, but they may also have skills that we can develop future for additional areas. Be humble, show sincere interest and concern. That would be my son. Answers during interviews. When you're preparing your answers for interviews, whether it is prior to the interview, if you happen to have a heads up, or during the interview, I would encourage you to make it personal, make it something that really comes from your heart and apply it to the position if you can. The employers know what the cookie cutter answers are, so make sure you're doing what you can to secure that position. put in 100% effort. Again, you won't go unnoticed if you're out there all the time putting in the effort. We also show dogs. In kind of parting words in all aspects, the equine industry, it does require skill. It requires ambition, performance, and versatility. Whether you're a trainer, whether you're a barn manager, whether you're in a business role, you need to really have all of those key components. Be true to yourself, combine each of your skills along with your passion, and University of Findlay is a fantastic place for creating your horseshoe and taking it with you as you go on. And that's all I have.
And Laura Baldine Rice, I'd like to invite you up. Laura is the head trainer at Bella Rose Farm, and it is her family operation that I will let her tell you the rest about. Thanks.
I'm going to turn this a little. Here we go. That's better. Okay. So my name is Laura Rice. Yes, my maiden name is Baldine, which some of you probably don't even know my married name. I was a hunter jumper student, and I was here from the years 2003 to 2007. So I'm actually, okay, perfect. Okay, there we go. I'm really honored to have the opportunity to be here today. I'm the youngest here, so this is really awesome that I was invited to be here. And we all have something in common, right? We all have the love of horses, whether it be in a different aspect. I'm going to tell you about me as a trainer, but there's so many aspects of this industry that can make you a professional, right? And so it's important to know where you're best suited in this industry. But for me, it's working as a trainer and as a professional rider. Now I'm going to give you a little bit about my background since 2007 when I graduated. Okay, that's good. Okay, so in February of 2007, this is before I graduated, my family had been looking for quite some time for a farm. My parents are also involved in horses. They ride. My dad trail rides strictly for fun. My mom teaches some lessons and did all through my high school years and rides as well. And we tend to collect horses. So over time, it made sense for us to get our own place. So we purchased this. This is in Morris, Illinois. We named it Bella Rose Farm. It's on 14 acres. It had 11 stalls. This is an old picture. You'll see a new one in a second. So it had 11 stalls and a very small indoor riding arena. It was, they had Pasafinos. So if anyone knows what Pasafinos are, they really don't, they don't need a big area. So anyways, this was not meant to be a business per se. We bought it to keep our horses. Yes, we had a couple of customers, which ended up being some show customers. I lived on the property. I lived in the apartment that's above the barn. We have 2 apartments on the property. On top of, so obviously when I graduated, I moved here, but on top of this job, I got a phone call while I was still a senior from a woman named Jean Panicki that owned Castle Hill Farm, which is in Elgin, Illinois, and I had known her as a junior rider, and she is no longer in business at this point, but she had called me and she really needed somebody to come and show her horses for her. So as a senior, I was traveling home on the weekends to show her horses, particularly her young horses, and bring them along at the A-rated shows for her. So I was kind of going back and forth and doing the IHSA shows and running there. And so it made sense that when I graduated, I was offered a position. I went to her farm about once or twice a week, and that's an hour and a half away from me. So that was kind of a haul. Did that for about a year before it became too much, because also, upon graduating, I was offered a position at a farm, a fairly new farm, and its name was Lane's End Farm. It was in Minooka, Illinois, so that's about half an hour north of my farm, much more doable. And I knew the owner of this farm also from being a junior rider. She she rode at the same facility that I was at. So at Lane's End Farm is where I met my student Megan Jerica, who you all know. And so I started her fresh out of college. She had already been riding and had a horse at that farm when I took over. Megan's wearing my farm jacket today, I can tell from here. Okay, so next, I'm gonna let you do this, because okay, there we go. So this is actually a newer picture of my farm. We added in a new indoor, a 100 by 180 indoor. And we took that, we had the original 11 stalls. We took that small indoor and put 10 more stalls in there. We also added a feed room. We added a second tack room. We added a lounge. We added much more pasture space. We now have like 5 all-weather turnouts and 9 grass pastures, and our horses go out all day, every day. Well, not when it's ice and, 20 feet of snow on the ground, but anyhow, so I'm gonna let you, can you move on to the next picture for me? Oh, that's one too many, I think. Is that next? Okay. All right, so it is next, you're right. All right, so on top of my business, I wanna talk to you a little bit about some of the things that are really important, that you're going to look back and really appreciate being at Findlay. This picture is me and my best friend, Katie. Her last name was Johnson at the time. Her name is Katie Kunk. She is a professional in the industry as well. And so we were best friends all through college and still continue to remain best friends. Her business is like an hour and a half north of mine. So it's really important to establish those relationships, because it's a really difficult business to be in. It is not easy on any aspect. And so it's really nice to have somebody that you trust and respect to pick up the phone sometimes 6 times a day or more to talk to them. And then on top of those contacts that I've made, it's not just students. I'm still very close with Michelle as well, wherever Michelle went. I don't know. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm still very close with Michelle as well. And so I'm gonna tell you something that Michelle did for me. And Findlay has a lot of resources to help find you a suitable job. Again, whether it be a trainer, whether it be whatever. Michelle approached me it was right before my junior year. And there was an offer to go to New Jersey, where Ann Krasinski is, and to travel to the Hampton Classic with her to work. And I said, really? I said, why would she, what does she want? And she said, well, she wants to hire someone. I said, well, that just doesn't make any sense. So I went anyways. I hopped in the car, drove to New Jersey, and I said, I'm still in college. Well, I went to the Hampton Classic, and it was an amazing experience. I got to ride all of Ann Krasinski's horses while at the horse show. I didn't horse show any of them, but I got to help her a lot. And at the end of that week, I was offered a position with her as an assistant. I declined, although it was an amazing opportunity. I wanted to finish college. That was really important to me. But I also wanted to kind of see what it was like, just in case I decided to go that route. We had just purchased a horse for the green program. I wanted to kind of finish that horse. I had just started dating my now husband. It was kind of a lot of things involved. But anyways, I declined that. So an awesome thing to add to my resume, but that is something that Michelle did for me. And also on top of that, I've had many clinics, and Michelle was one of them. Scott DeHelian, who was a former instructor at Findlay, has also come. Sam McCarthy, she was 2 directors ago, am I right? Okay, so she's come as well. Next picture, please. Okay, this is a picture of my new indoor arena. And this actual picture, this is actually one of the first pictures ever taken, because this is ClearSpan. It's a ClearSpan building. This is the actual picture that's in their ad. So my farm is like in tons of magazines, and I get phone calls all the time. There's this picture in this magazine, and you're in it. I said, yeah, I know. It's everywhere. So it's kind of neat. If you don't mind moving on to the next picture. Thank you. This is just me on one of my horses. In the program, we had the opportunity to ride all kinds of horses. And obviously they were green horses, they were unbroke, they were nice horses. This is just one of my green horses I brought along kind of immediately after college. And let's see here. This next picture, tell me, does anyone recognize that horse? That's Wall Street. And yes, that is me with pigtails. I actually had Wall Street for, well, was it like a year? Might have been almost a year. Anyhow, we leased him for one of my students before I left Lane's End Farm, and he ended up staying there for a little while after I left. But Wall Street was awesome, and I rode him in a trainer's medal, and I think I won that, but we all dressed up and we were silly, so I had to wear bows and braids. And anyhow, on top of leasing horses from Findlay, I also have, some of you don't know Toffee. I have a couple of horses that used to be Findlay horses. I also sent, so I've kind of stayed in touch a lot. I also sent some of my students to, well, they don't have it anymore, but the summer camp. So if you, let's see here. I'll talk about that in a second. But I sent my students to the summer camp. I sent like 7, I think, a couple years in a row. And I ended up developing my own summer camp at home. And apparently I'm not the only one, but I have this binder that's like this thick, and it has every single piece of paper ever handed to me in the program. I'm talking like this thick. And I saved all of them. And I still get phone calls from some of my friends saying, hey, do you happen to have that demo from, and I mean, they all still have the people's names on them, right? And so I developed my own summer camp once Findlay, discontinued theirs, because I thought it was so important to give the kids that hands-on time that they don't get during their everyday lessons. So I photocopy that stuff and revert back to it all the time. So yes, keep your stuff. It is very important. I still use it all the time. All the things that I did at Findlay, they helped prepare me properly for the business, right? So like we said, there's no right or wrong. Well, I think, how many times you guys heard industry standard? Is that still like a common phrase used? Yeah, it's true. You want to know what is known as industry standard, okay? If you could go to the next picture, please. This is just my kids during one of our Halloween parties. We like to have a lot of fun too. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about my personal business and my schedule. Most of my business is made up of show customers. We have 21 horses in the farm. Since the day we added on, we have not had an open stall since like 4 years now, which is awesome. But most of our customers are show customers. I do have some that are not. Everybody's required to be in some type of a program. Most of my customers are from the ages of 12 to 17. I have some adults as well, and some of them I started at a very, very young age. Next picture, please. And this is just one of my horses, again, another green horse that we're bringing up now. We have horses of all ages. We have really young, like this one's just turning 5. We have older horses, schoolmasters, good and bad. Unfortunately, half my barn right now is very green horses. We have quite a mix of hunters, we have equitation, we have some jumpers as well. Like I said, all horses are required to be in a program with me. They all have to take lessons. Some are in full training. I ride all of my horses at least once a week, keeping them in a program. I personally feel that I have a niche for matching the horse and rider combinations, as well as it's really important to find the most horse for your customer's money, for their financial capabilities. I work really hard to create soft riders, thinking riders that truly understand their horse, and I make certain my riders have good basics and equitation in order to give them a solid base. Next picture, please. This is just this is my farm banner that I hang up at all the horse shows. Actually, the horse on the left is Pongo. He was a Findlay horse as well. Didn't actually remember that was on there. One of my favorites. I don't think anyone here would know him, right? It's been gone long enough? Okay, that makes me feel kind of old now. We travel to 3 different circuits. Yes, I am crazy. I have a group, we have the NIJA horse shows. That's a local circuit for us. It's a wonderful circuit. And we also, that same group of customers do travel to some of the A shows as well. We're starting to get more heavily into the A shows now as we've brought along those green horses and they're finally ready. I also go to a even more local circuit that's called PTS, and that's for those customers that are on a stricter budget, because we do have all ranges. This year, I have 24 shows on my schedule, which one I got home from last night and had to drive out this morning. So that's why I'm, this is my preparation here. I was doing this in the aisle at the horse show on Saturday. That hurry up and wait scene. So anyways, next picture, please. This is just a show setup for me. I'm very, very detailed, very particular, and I don't have a lot of help. I'm pretty much a one-man show. I do not at home have grooms that tack up for me. I don't have people handing me horses. If I have to ride 8 in a day, you can imagine it's an 8-hour day minimum just riding the horses. So it's a lot of work. So I take pride in, so far, what I've been able to accomplish. When not at the horse shows, so I work Monday through Saturday teaching lessons and riding, as well as managing my farm. My husband and I do stalls 2 days a week. I drag the arenas daily. I set new courses weekly. I help with turnouts. I do all the body clipping. I do all the mane pulling. I teach all the lessons. I do, like I said, I do all the, sometimes up to 8 a day riding if I can fit it in. I do all the feedings. And so on, right? So I do literally everything. Notice I said I work Monday through Saturday and Sunday's my day off. Well, you can count how many days off I get when I'm at 24 horse shows a year, right? Oftentimes I do my own braiding at the horse shows as well. Something I learned also at Findlay, that now I get hired all the time to do mostly like the tail braids at the horse shows, not just for my own customers, but for other customers as well. So fitting that in, getting to the ring, going and doing a tail braid, getting back to the ring, you get it. So many days I'm working 12 to 14 hour days and getting home very late in the evening. My poor husband. Next picture, please. This is just a picture of my kids at my first annual summer camp. Like I said, every summer I run the advanced summer camp, and it's with my own students. I do have some that come in from outside this year. Like I said, we don't have any open stalls, so I had to add in like 6 stalls in my indoor, and it was tough, but it was really, really fun. I do many of the demonstrations. It's run pretty much like your freshman year crammed into like 3 or 4 days. The first year, I had 8 to 10 girls, and I got this genius idea. We were gonna make it a sleepover camp too. And they all stayed in one of the apartments on the property, and I thought everybody would watch a movie by 10 o'clock and go to bed at night. I was so wrong. I will never have them sleep over ever again. They keep asking, and I said, over my dead body. This is like the most tired I've ever been in my life. No horse show can compare. Findlay's program taught me how important it is to help my students become more than great riders, but to have the horsemanship skills as well. We are not a full-service facility. I will offer that. I have yet to have anybody take me up on it. All my kids do their own tacking. They do everything. I try really hard to let them clip their horses, but we try to do it in off-season, so in case they mess up. They all wrap their own horses. I think it's really important that they are prepared like that. Riding is only half of this sport. In order to be successful, you need to have the knowledge and understanding of the horses, the dedication, and as you've heard, I'm the 4th person to tell you, hard work. The horse's well-being always, always, always comes first. Okay, next picture, please. All right, this is actually at Findlay. Dave Duncan, who I don't know would people know Dave Duncan here? Well, he was around when I was in school. He was the barn manager, and he approached me and said, I got a phone call about Horse Illustrated needing a photo for their magazine, and they would like to set it up as though you're sitting outside having a relaxing day. This was completely a setup. This never happens. That is my own personal mare, Bella, that I bought for the green program. My parents bought, correction. So this was in Horse Illustrated for quite some time, actually. So that's kind of a neat photo, and I still have that horse as well. Next photo, please. Okay, good. So this is just an example of, this is a couple of my customers, and that particular family now owns 3 horses, but they had 2 at the time, and these are just their own trophies and awards just from that one show season. So that was kind of a cool show season. Each year, my customers bring home many year-end awards and trophies from the banquets, again, on the multiple circuits. We've won trophies all the way from short stirrup to, through the bigger divisions, depending on what I have for that year. We've won, that little guy on the left has won High Point Horse a couple years in a row, and he's won medal final. He's awesome. So anyhow, my students also have had many opportunities. Like I said, I bring in a clinician. I try to once a year. We just did the Frank Madden Clinic not too long ago as well. Next picture, please. This is actually, Michelle mentioned earlier, in 2010, this is a picture of me. I received a trainer's award. They actually called it Horse Person of the Year. I was surprised by this. So this was at the NIJA banquet, and it was for outstanding sportsmanship and support for the circuit. For me, it was both a very wonderful and humbling experience. And next picture, please. Good. Okay, so this is, do you guys get this magazine, the USCF Equestrian magazine? Years ago, and I honestly, I feel like it was like 2007 when I graduated. I was kind of running my couple of businesses, and there was someone that contacted me, and I honestly don't even know. Again, that's something through Finley. I think the woman that was writing the article contacted Finley and said, hey, we need a name. We need somebody we want to write an article about, that's gone to an equestrian college that had a scholarship, obviously not for riding, but for whatever, and how they're doing in the business. So there was like a 2-page article about me in there. So that was really neat. Next picture, please. Let's see here. So this is an example. This is one of our ponies that we just recently got, and he has now qualified for pony final. So we're really excited to go spend a couple weeks in Kentucky this summer. And next picture, please. Good. And this is I always say my barn family. I do have a barn family. We're a very small business, and this is at our annual Christmas party, and this is their, again, year-end ribbons and awards. I am blessed with the most amazing customers. It's not always easy, though, because I'm lucky I get to be picky about who's in my barn. Sometimes you get really, really, really tough customers. Nobody can prepare you for how tough customers can be. My students, though, are very, very hardworking, and they're very respectful. They have become very talented riders that make me proud to stand at the in-gate all the time, and I'm proud to say that they are mine. They always show a high level of sportsmanship and are much more than riders, but like I said earlier, they have great horsemanship skills as well. And one more picture, there should be, yep, and this is just one of our years at finals. Most importantly, I'm blessed with an amazing support system. I have both my parents and my husband, who's here with me this evening. I started dating him my junior year. He also went to Finley. Actually, my in-laws live in Finley, so we get to come back quite a bit. We married in September of 2009. Like I said, with my support system, when I'm gone, my mom's teaching lessons for me, and when I'm away at shows, she also helps manage the farm. My husband and father run their own consulting business, nothing to do with horses, but also off the farm, so we're always on the property. We have great workers that pay close attention to the horses. Always surround yourself with the best staff possible, because I am very, very bad at asking for help. I try to do everything on my own. It's not really the best approach. Please know that this is a very challenging and very rewarding business to be in. It takes true passion, and it definitely takes dedication. You need to be willing to work hard and to be tough. When you graduate, if you want to go be a professional, you want to be a trainer, do not expect to walk into a barn and have everything handed to you. You need to work extra hours. You need to show that you deserve to be there. So I think you mentioned about instant gratification. I 100% agree with that. You have to, it looks like I've had everything handed to me. I see that, but I've had to build my business from the ground up. It's very difficult. So don't be afraid to go be a groom somewhere, get your feet wet. Even if you don't get to ride the first 6 months, if you need to muck stalls to go get noticed, muck stalls. Show someone that you're dedicated. You must have good people skills when dealing with customers. Always be energetic. Always be positive, as it's very easy to develop a reputation in this business, and not always good, sometimes bad. Always appear confident, but never afraid to ask for help from other professionals that you look up to. and always continue to further educate yourself. Don't walk away from here and think that that's all you need to know. This is an amazing start and an amazing opportunity, but make sure that you always continue to further educate yourself. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Laura. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming, taking time out of your busy schedules, being a part of the Finley family. I've had the, sorry, this is emotional for me, but I've had the great opportunity to work with all of them, and so glad that now you can meet them. Because the Finley family is very special, and I hope you see that. So at this time, I'd like to open up for questions and answers. Anyone have a question? Not one question? You all learned something?
How many of you are seniors? Have you started the resume process and looking? Yep. we did.
How many of you want to become professional riders or trainers that are seniors? Okay. All of you? Is there anyone that does not? No? Okay.
Where are you applying for positions? You didn't know that we would ask you questions if you didn't have questions for us.
They know they've been in your shoes.
Sure. Great. Anyone else have any leads on jobs? Where are you looking? What are you hoping to start by doing?
Russ Walther.
Russ, what are you doing?
Can I ask him a question?
Of
Yeah.
course, please. That's what this is for.
There was one common denominator that came from all four. What was it? Come on. Opportunity. Take every. What did they
Opportunity.
say? What did they say? Why are you all sitting there looking like?
This is an opportunity right now.
Advantage of all of it. Some of you got some this past week. Every opportunity out there for you guys to learn, you've got to take it. Look what they have done with it.
You often don't know when you're having
Very
it.
proud
Yes.
to have them, to come here and talk to you guys. And I hope you take something away from this.
Light. Thank you. Light.
I guess for each of you, like, what has been, like, each of your own personal, like, most difficult thing that you've had to get through, like, have you ever had, like, a breaking point where you're just, like, at your lowest?
No, that's a great question.
Great question.
Can I take that?
Yeah, Larice.
When I talked about getting out of the industry, I worked at a hunt club, and it's a different schematic. And I mean, when you talk about people skills, I wish someone would have said to me as a senior in college, you know, go take 17 communications classes, take 4 psychology classes, and possibly child development, because the horse is the easiest part of this job, and you will take that for granted. But the people are hard, and so we have the privilege, and we are very lucky because we get to be the boss. Now, again, we take all the failure with all the accolades. It's all on us. But when you're in a hunt club, every single member is your boss. And no one explained that to me. So I was 90 hours a week. I bet 50 of them were members saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I'd look at my boss and I go, but this is what I'm supposed to do. And she was like, well, they're your boss. And then there was a committee. And I remember the committees would tell you what you had to do. So after about 9 months, again, I learned a ton between the medical and the horse. But the people, I said, I can't do this. Not because I didn't want to, but I felt like I failed. So I almost walked away at a very early age because I let them get to me, because that was a skill I hadn't obtained. No one said, well, this is what you better be prepared for. You know, I could work one-on-one. I'd been a member of a team. I had helped be a leader. I'd helped inspire. I mean, to me, your success in when you make other people look good. And I think that's what trainers do. Like she said, you stand at the gate. Well, I couldn't succeed. I couldn't take care of the horses the right way, and I worked for 7 different trainers in the barn, and they wanted everything done differently. So to me, that was it. That was I failed. I'm not a horse person. All these years, people saying, you're great at this, you're a great teacher, you're a great rider. You came and take your horse and manage a barn. You better get out now. So I mean, that was it for me. So I'm so thankful that I applied to the barn I wasn't supposed to go to, because had it not been for them saying, hey, we like you, come on out. And they let me, it was wonderful. I'm glad I got it back, because I would not give this life up, no matter how hard I work, no matter what I have or don't have. I mean, I'm the only one I think that's not married on the panel. I've never had kids. But I mean, we joke about me marrying the barn. I laughed with the girls last summer. Let's have a ceremony, call me Nerys Foxwood. This is what I'm gonna be. But you know what? I get so much to have girls and boys, I mean, men and women, everybody, think that you walk on water and that you can do no wrong and that they want to be like you. I mean, you don't recognize the power you have. So touching. I mean, you'll find your point and follow whatever path you need to be led by. But as Lori said, watch the signs. I mean, you won't notice you're getting an opportunity. And you'll think, I can't do that. You better rubber band snap yourself, because you can. And you got to give it a try. You may not be the greatest at it, but you're going to learn from it, and you're going to love it 5 years later, 10 years later, or you might find your passion and move on from there. So yeah, that was mine.
I think I want to answer that as well. I'm only 10 years older than a lot of you, so I'm fairly close in age to you, and I want to share something with you that happened probably in good timing, just probably about 3 weeks ago. And your question was, what's the hardest thing? Something like that. Okay. You know, like I said, I go to many horse shows. I've already been to 3 this year, and I have a lot of really green horses in my program. And it's, like I said, it's really good and it's really hard. And the reason for that is because when you're dealing with a budget, people either want, they want the best of the best, right? So a lot of times you're saying, well, you can get one that's really ready to go, but it's older. They don't want that. Or you're going to get really fancy and green. Oh, that sounds great. It is such hard work. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I went to a horse show about 3 weeks ago now and took some of my very nice horses who are wonderful horses, but they got in the ring, my kids did, and they fell apart. And when I'm telling you they fell apart, I mean, all 4 that I had there could hardly get over a jump on Sunday. Now, none of these horses had ever put the brakes on before. They were all honest horses. So I was like up in arms, right? So I'm going to tell you something. I make myself sound really vulnerable here. Did you notice when I was speaking and I said, always appear confident? I finally got to a point where I went in the bathroom at the horse show. This was 3 weeks ago. I texted my husband and said, I can't take this anymore. I bawled my eyes out in the bathroom because I said, there is something wrong. I'm not doing something right. My riders aren't getting it. I have fabulous riders. I have fabulous horses. I'm clearly the common denominator. It's me. It's my fault. Right? I mean, you want to know, that was my lowest of low 3 weeks ago. So I get in the car to go home. I'm like, I can't do this. What am I doing? What am I thinking? I'm not good enough for this. So you graduate from school, you go to nationals, you get a great ribbon, you're on a high. You can conquer the world. You can do anything. You get home, you'll ride the nasty horses, you'll ride anything. Well, as time goes by, it gets harder, not easier. All of a sudden, 3 foot looks kind of big. Then all of a sudden, 2'6" looks kind of big, right? So you're like, what am I doing? I used to be so brave. I could do this, right? Well, that's why I said continue to further educate yourself. It does not end here. So I went home, I was all upset, and my parents said, what is the matter? This is not you. What are you doing? You're always so confident and you can do anything. I said, I know, but I really had a hard time this week, and I've never had this hard of a time. So I kind of pushed through it and just got back from the horse show last night. These horses that were not getting around a single course over the weekend, now 3 weeks later, my kids were champ after champ after champ, winning everything against even harder competition than 3 weeks ago. So my point is, just because you get into a bad groove doesn't mean you can't pull out of it. You can, but you need to go and get help. You need to find somebody that you can continue taking lessons with. You need to have the willingness to ask for help, because you can't always take on everything yourself like I've done. So know that once you graduate, it gets harder. It doesn't get easier, okay? And I feel like I'm on the mend now. I'm doing really well. And I'm riding as, you know, as well as I ever have. The thing is, I have to keep telling myself that. You walk out of here with a lot of confidence, and you need to maintain it.
I think on the flip side of the people part, which is huge, is for me, one that I would share would be the responsibility you have to the animals. And I know that Michelle can really appreciate this, is living through the outbreak here at Findlay. And
Kogi too.
losing some, in Kogi as well, losing some of our special horses. And any time in life, in working with the animals, that you have to make choices on their behalf or for them, and the countless hours. And you always question yourself, and you're always trying to do the right thing, but you'll come to a place where you're responsible for those horses and to the people, and kind of balancing the emotional aspect with the business piece, and then making the right choices. I think for me, that felt like an eternity. I often say to people, it was like watching the barn burn for weeks on end. Instead of just an immediate loss, it was a very long period. And we all stuck it out together. And to go back and speak to students that were here, again, it wasn't, I hate to say it, but they used it as an opportunity to learn so much about the industry and the care of the animals, and just taking care of a situation like that, understanding that it wasn't unique to just here, it does happen other places. And just being able to apply that, I know, in our own businesses, moving forward now as I work with horses, but there's actually not a day that I look at horses now or have to make decisions on their behalf that I don't remember the horses or respect. And I just encourage you, respect all the horses you have, the good ones and the bad ones, because they actually make you who you are. And without them, we wouldn't have anything. My day wouldn't start or end if I didn't really have them to look to. So even when something's not going right, or like Laura says, you show up at the show and they don't jump over their jumps.
That's why we're here.
You have to remember that, you know, for whatever reason they will, and it'll come. Everyone takes their own time, and for each one you're learning, and your students are learning too. And without them, our jobs wouldn't exist. So yeah, there's one neighing right now. Any other questions?
Any questions?
Well, good luck to all of you. I mean, I hope you'll use us as resources. I mean, reach out to us. A Findlay grad reached out to me from the dressage, and she's coaching our dressage team now. She was a simple email. She just said, I saw you at the horse shows, and you always smiled and said, great job, and didn't know if you ever were looking for someone. And sure enough, we were looking for an intern. I had her down to interview, and she's doing a fantastic job. She completed a 2-year internship, and we've just hired her on as an instructor. So again, and the coach of the team now is also a graduate from the University of Findlay. So reach out, ask questions, don't be afraid, and make your own opportunities. And like we've all said, sometimes you don't know you're in the midst of an opportunity, but take advantage.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you all for coming. And so we're going to say goodnight at this time.